Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Before I get into this video, I should tell you that the title is a little bit clickbaity. I'm not going to go into any exhaustive summary on the controversy stirred up last year by mostly fellow ex-Jehovah's Witnesses about my private life. There are practical legal reasons for this, not least the fact that I am criminally suing for defamation 7 of those most instrumental in starting an online abuse campaign, but I do need to reference what happened for context because unfortunately it had an aftermath that I need to discuss with those of you who care about this channel and especially those who so generously support it financially. If, like me, you hate ex-Jehovah's Witness drama, feel free to skip this video and go to the description where I'll summarize the main points. Back in April, I made a video in which I explained that the channel wasn't doing so well financially, largely as a result of the defamation campaign. I shared that in order for me to continue hiring a video editor and by extension putting out the amount of content I was producing, I needed a minimum of 500 patrons and YouTube channel members combined, preferably the 620 figure I had when I first hired my video editor, Tibor. The response to that video was incredible, so much so that 3 days later I made another video announcing that we had enough financial backing to continue. But in the months since, the number of combined patrons and channel members has dropped off from over 700 in April to about 570 as of filming now in September, which is still a phenomenal level of support, probably the highest of any dedicated ex-Jehovah's Witness channel by some margin, but it's indicative of a spike rather than sustained support at a level where I can hire other people and pay all the normal overheads associated with running a business. I have had offers from extremely generous individuals to pay large lump sums to keep things going, and these I have accepted in the past. But rather than feeling like I must go cap in hand to keep things ticking over every time the going gets tough, I would much rather leave it in the hands of my audience. If the funds from ordinary viewers aren't there, I'd rather scale down accordingly. It's for this and other reasons that I regret to announce that I have made the decision to close my Croatian production company, Ypsilon Media, meaning that Tibor and I have agreed that he will no longer be working as my video editor. During our time together, Tibor has been an excellent worker and colleague, and he's made a phenomenal contribution to the cause of ex-Jehovah's Witness activism that I'm sure will continue to have a positive impact on many lives for decades to come. He will be sorely missed, and I wish him every success with his future career. In addition to this news, I must also ask that you please respect Tibor's privacy and his right to move on with his life without harassment. Sadly, due to his work on this channel, Tibor has been targeted with online abuse himself, some kind of twisted guilt by association thing, and this needs to stop. There is, I'm afraid, a small but loud toxic component of the ex-Jehovah's Witness community that will leap on any controversy and disproportionately respond to even the slightest whiff of scandal or wrongdoing, real or imagined, due, I believe, to the residual behaviours coded into us as ex-members. If any of you who insist on making lengthy video diatribes or writing hundreds of pages of forum threads agonizing over every detail of my shortcomings or misfortunes are watching, my message is this: keep attacking me if you want, but leave Tibor out of it. I also want to make it absolutely clear that Tibor doesn't know about this video, hasn't edited it, or had any input whatsoever in what I'm saying or what I'm about to say. But now that I'm in lone wolf mode, now that I'm speaking for myself and only for myself, there are some things I would really like to make clear. To those who are still on the fence about my character, or who may feel swayed by the dozens of hate videos that currently pop up on YouTube in connection with my name, I need to say this: I am a good man. I'm a father of two and an ordinary human being with ordinary flaws. Over the past 12 years, I've tried my best to provide resources that can help people exit a harmful cult, and I've done so largely without naming names or pointing fingers at others, especially here on this channel, which is my largest platform. I've made my fair share of mistakes, but I'm not a criminal, nor has anyone come forward with any criminal evidence against me, despite attempts by some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses to report me to police, brandishing faked emails written by a particularly sick individual who apparently fantasized about me once upon a time grooming a teenager.
James Lloyd Evans. The amount of information we now have has now been handed into the police. I strongly recommend you get your backside down to a UK police station and come clean. It has to be done. So do the right thing and own up to what you've done.
The individual you just saw is one of the 7 criminal defendants I mentioned earlier. He pounced on the forged emails and encouraged others to go to the police with them. It will probably be years before I see justice for what he and his collaborators have done. But while I have a pulse, I will do everything I can to hold them accountable because I care about my legacy and the ability of my books, blog articles and videos to speak to people and help them out of an abusive cult. I also love my 2 girls, and I won't let them grow up having to deal with lies spread about their father. It turns out the Croatian legal system is glacially slow and was recently slowed even further by strikes, but I'm in this for the long haul. In addition to the false criminal allegations that were circulated, I have been and continue to be targeted with myriad other accusations, including that I am abusive and narcissistic. The strategy of the anti-Lloyd mob seems to be throw enough mud and some of it will stick. Even if some of our accusations get exposed as lies, others are either vague or unfalsifiable, and where there is any confusion over Lloyd's character, his supporters might err on the side of caution and cancel him. An example of this ruthless character assassinating can be seen on the channel of Jake Vaughan, or Alt-Worldly, who devoted a 1-hour 37-minute video promising his viewers a summary of what happened here exactly, in which he managed to lie within the first 2 minutes. As you're about to see, he said that I confirmed that all of the things I was accused of by former colleague Kim Silvio happened more or less, when in the live stream he's referring to, you'll notice I contradicted her at almost every turn.
To put it simply, Lloyd Evans was recently accused by a former coworker and frequent collaborator of improper behavior. Lloyd Evans then did a live stream in which he confirmed that all of the things in that allegation happened, more or less.
A live stream in which he confirmed that all of the things in that allegation happened, more or less.
Kim continues, this was shortly before he notified the community that he would be taking a 2-month break from activism to reevaluate my life for the sake of my mental health. This is not correct. Damn well is, Kim. Damn well is. And also, you green-lighted the video where I said this. You are being deceived by this hypocritical, well, that's rich, dishonest and misogynistic man. Apparently I'm misogynistic. Basically all of this stems from her being her feeling put out because I didn't follow her recommendation, and she probably interprets that as misogynistic because I ignored her as a woman. I don't know. Where does misogynism come into it? Many times Lloyd has shouted down other activists. I've never called out anyone by name. I've said what kind of activism works and doesn't work, but regarding this channel in particular, I've just kept it all about Watchtower. I think my viewers will agree on that. Does he have a monopoly on the activism movement? Never, I don't want to have a monopoly. I've repeatedly said I celebrate other activists. I've brought other activists on the channel and pointed my viewers to their channels and urged them to subscribe to other activists. Under a pretense of objectivity and impartiality, Jake went on to eviscerate my character with claim after claim, such as the following.
I had seen how Lloyd was able to silence people. Jason Wynn was one of the most respected and important activists. He's the founder of avoidjw.org. He crossed Lloyd a couple times, got publicly shamed on Twitter, and, frankly, I did not help the situation. I called him out too on something that I disagreed with him. One of the things that bothered me specifically was Lloyd talking about how his patrons don't have a right to know what he does with his money. The other thing that comes out in the wake of all of this that makes me particularly upset is finding out that no member of JW Watch, including Mark O'Donnell, has ever been paid for their work. If a tourist goes to Thailand and sleeps with prostitutes, even best case scenario, if he can be absolutely sure that the person he slept with is not a minor and is 100% consenting, that tourist is still participating in a systemically oppressive system that dominates women and children specifically. He says he did not go to Thailand specifically for sex tourism, but he engaged in it anyway.
Of course, none of what he said here was true. Disagreeing with someone on Twitter is not silencing or publicly shaming them, or we'd probably all be guilty of that. Jason Wynn has had plenty to say on both Twitter and indeed national television since I supposedly silenced him. When it comes to Patreon, I've frequently shown patrons how their pledged money is being spent, including behind-the-scenes videos of new equipment and new studio setups, discussing upcoming projects, and so on. It's just that either professional activism is a legitimate career or it isn't, and I don't accept that anyone owes a breakdown of how they manage their personal finances once they've been paid for doing their job. When it comes to Mark O'Donnell, Jake had no way of knowing this, which I guess you could say about most of the topics he weighed in on, but Mark was offered $100 per JW Watch episode when we were working together, but he declined to share his tax and financial information requested by our Croatian company accountant because it seemed he either didn't trust her or the Croatian invoicing process, or both. To this day, he hasn't received any of the agreed payments, but it's hardly my fault if he refused to invoice my company properly while it existed. And while it's true I did briefly date a sex worker in Thailand in the early stages of a separation, I didn't involve myself in sex tourism of any kind, either in Thailand or any other country. That allegation is just a straight-up lie. So what you've just seen is just a small sampling of what were many lies in Jake's video. But as Mark Twain said, a lie can travel halfway around the world before the truth puts on its shoes. Still on YouTube as of now with over 50,000 views and counting, Jake's hit piece has definitely added to my mental trauma and helped contribute to the situation in which I now find myself. I've even had new friends where I live here in Zagreb who are entirely unconnected to Jehovah's Witnesses reference this particular video, assuming it to be basically true and unbiased because the host seems so likable and sincere. But as it turns out, apart from the video being strewn with lies, it was also incredibly hypocritical. Some months later, Jake admitted to his audience that he was himself guilty of indiscretions in his private life, dating back to the exact same period when he so enthusiastically joined in picking apart mine.
Again, I have fucked up. I've lied to my friends. I've hurt people. There may be people I hurt that I don't even know about because I've been so fucked up that I don't remember. I don't know anymore. The reality is, it's entirely possible that I made people uncomfortable with stuff I've said or the way I said it or made some, mean-spirited or weird joke or something. I definitely wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about the way I interact with people. I wasn't thinking about the like imbalance of me having a platform on YouTube, which kind of, you know, it gives that imbalance in power to any conversation that I would have with another exJW who looks up to me and doesn't have a platform like that. Those weren't things that I was thinking about. And if you don't think about this stuff, you can cause a lot of damage. So now I'm thinking about it, and I'm really taking it to heart, and I really want to do better and make sure that I never come close to making anybody uncomfortable in that way again. When you leave as an adult, the kind of mistakes that most people get to make when they're like in high school and in college, I'm now making at age 30. You know, I have a friend who is now in their 40s that left. We have activists here on YouTube who left the organization much older than that even. But if we are going to learn and become real people, part of that is fucking up and making those mistakes and then having to own it. And we have to be willing to give people the runway to fall flat on their faces and to get back up and try again and to work on themselves. If we really want to be helpful, we have to get rid of the mentality that we have to cast the wicked person out from among ourselves. Like, I know this is probably a cringe take. It seems very self-serving, but I don't know what else to say. We all know it's true. We do. We have a problem with destroying people and escalating personal conflict to the level of scandal. And it's not healthy.
So it seems Jake wants others to give him a runway when he makes mistakes, but when it comes to others who are guilty of being human and screwing up, the runway is closed. But what angers me most about Jake's video is his flagrant dishonesty. And don't get me wrong, his commentary does include at least some facts and observations that I can agree with. But ultimately, like the many other videos made over that period by various creators, it is aimed at destroying or cancelling someone by capitalising on their personal struggles for short-term gains in popularity, views and subscribers. It is, to revisit a phrase I've coined in the past, gutter activism. The real what happened here exactly version goes something like this. I went to Thailand during a mental health crisis at the end of 2021, brought on by huge upheavals in my private life, including mistakes I made and apologised for, the sort of thing that happens in relationships all the time, but aggravated by my cult background, and a former colleague in whom I'd confided betrayed my confidence and used frankly racist tropes about sex tourism in Thailand to try to destroy me. I couldn't possibly have chosen Thailand for the beaches, the boat trips, the elephants, the amazing food. It had to be for the prostitutes. That's it. That's the scandal. And because of all the vitriol levelled at me, exacerbated to some degree, I will admit, by my emotional, misguided attempts to defend my character and legacy, now I'm back on my own. Where there were 3, there is now just 1. So how will things look for the channel moving forward? Well, I can tell you one thing, I need a break. I'm not sure how long it will be, hopefully not more than a few weeks. But despite dramatically reducing the number of uploads, this channel will continue. And after I've had some time to catch my breath and get my head together, I intend to put out 1 or 2 videos per week on average. There will be no more pre-recorded long-form rebuttals and no more sushis. Just the one more sushi on shunning needs to go out, perhaps over the next few days, and that's it. From now on, I'll aim to do the occasional live stream rebuttal and put out shorter edited content that I will both film and edit myself, as in the early days. Voicemails will continue, as will interviews and JW Watch bulletins. I also have a huge backlog of Patreon and YouTube channel member requested topics to work through, but you should know my overall goal is to gradually steer away from ex-Jehovah's Witness activism and focus on broader topics surrounding cults and religion, because, to be blunt, Ex-Jehovah's Witness activism has nearly killed me, and it just isn't worth the stress and drain on my mental health. I can't stop doing it straight away because it's a bit like turning an oil tanker. It's what I know inside out, and it's the subject I can speak on most effortlessly. But the toxicity of the ex-Jehovah's Witness community is just getting way too much, and I know I need to detach from it eventually. It's a tragic irony, really, that Watchtower doesn't even need to attack activists like myself directly in the way Scientology does with its fair gaming of critics. It screws with the minds of followers so thoroughly that it can stand back and rely on ex-members to cannibalize each other due to all the residual toxicity and judgmentalism. If you're a patron or a YouTube channel member and you need a certain amount of videos from me on a certain subject in order to keep pledging, I fully understand if this is your jumping off point, especially if you started pledging due to the April video. You should know that I will always be grateful for whatever you contributed to this channel, even if you stopped pledging a long time ago. I don't take anything for granted, and I really do appreciate even the smallest amounts that were given or pledged, no matter how far back it was. It has all helped towards creating a body of work that will hopefully continue to help people for many years to come, long after I'm gone. But if you do decide to keep pledging, I can promise you I still have a lot to say about Jehovah's Witnesses and other cults. And while there are still enough of you who are willing to help me keep this as my job, either as patrons or channel members, I will carry on with live streams and shorter videos, even if I can't do as much as before. That's about all I have for you, but rather than signing off as usual, I've decided to end with a montage of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses using the YouTube platform to abuse me. You might wonder, why? The reason is this: I may have lost friends due to all this nonsense. I may have lost colleagues, subscribers, collaborators, and supporters. My company may have lost tens of thousands of dollars in revenue, contributing to its eventual closure as the only production company dedicated to ex-Jehovah's Witness content in the world. By the way, guys, great job on that. But there are two things I still have: a voice and a YouTube channel. And I intend to use those two things to continue to expose not other content creators I dislike or disagree with or judge for any reason, but abusive, deadly, family-destroying cults such as the one from which I escaped. And though I've personally all but written off my generation of ex-Jehovah's Witness activists as mostly a hot mess of damaged people, locked in an endless cycle of infighting, sensationalism, shit-stirring and jealousy, maybe, just maybe, there is a hope for future generations. We need tomorrow's ex-Jehovah's Witness activists to think long and hard about what type of content they will bring to the table if they are to build on the legacy of those who have gone before and stand any chance at all of overturning Watchtower and bringing its criminal abuse to an end. Will your activism be enlightening, edifying, healing, and positive? Or will it be like this?
At the beginning of this year, he said, Lloyd has been caught with his pants down. And I said, oh, stop. Let me get my popcorn ready for this one. I'm not setting this one out.
If you're giving Lloyd Evans money, if you're continuing to fund this piece of shit, if you don't do the research on this guy, I mean, like I said, it goes on for hours and hours. Go fuck yourself.
They needed to know this information to stop consenting to giving their money away to a sex addict. He goes to Thailand, where sex trafficking is a very real and prevalent problem. And also, fun fact, over 60% of the girls who do sex work and prostitution in Thailand are under 18. Not good. Not good.
Lloyd putting it down overseas? Oh man, talk about spreading the good news of the kingdom and all the inhabited earth.
Abusers should not be validated despite their position.
Don't claim a moral high ground that you are not capable of holding, and don't use trafficked women, which you almost certainly do.
Hey Lloyd, your stupid little video. Remember Alien Encounters? When you went, what? What? With your non-answer. Remember that, Lloyd? Go back and see who that was. And when you realize it, I hope you throw something across the room and know that I fucking got you. I fucking got you, you fucker. And that's it. Fucking got you. It was gonna happen. It was gonna happen eventually. How do I turn this thing off?